Recently, I read a wonderful book, and it was the book. It was the book that concluded all the books that I have read, searching for what is the meaning of life and what is my purpose and all of that. Just slight stuff, just little things. And I'm gonna share with you guys, first of all, the book. It's called Sapiens. Highly recommend. If you only read one book for the rest of your life, I would say read this book. Out of all the other books I've read, I would say read this one. And there was a section in the book with the title, The Meaning of Life. There's a few quotes in there, and I'm gonna read them to you guys, and then we're gonna go into all the nitty and gritty and fun stuff. First quote says, and it was actually by, I wanna say it said Nietzsche? I'm sorry, I cannot pronounce the name correctly, but I know who they are. I've seen their name many times. I just haven't ever tried to pronounce it till, well, now. Sorry about that. But anyway, so this quote was in the book. So this is not the author's quote. This is I'm just gonna spell it out here. This is who said it. And it says, if you have a why to live, you can bear almost anyhow. Okay, so that's the first one. So keep that in mind. The second quote says, a meaningful life can be extremely satisfying, even in the midst of hardship. Whereas a meaningless life is a terrible ordeal, no matter how comfortable it is. Let that sink in. The next quote that I took out of this section was, as far as we can tell from a purely scientific viewpoint, human life has no meaning. Let that one sink in. Okay, now we can move on to the last one. The last quote says, hence, any meaning that people ascribe to their lives is just a delusion. Okay, so what did I get? What did I get from this book? There is no meaning. There is no meaning. Like, there's no one meaning to life. We're just here. We're just here and we're just living and we're just here existing. And when I first got through this whole chapter in the book, I was kind of void. I was a little bit in a funk for a little bit, but then it switched. And then everything started to change. I went from being just like, oof, that's heavy, to wait a second. The fact that scientifically there is no meaning to our existence as humans is actually an amazing thing, because then we get to choose what we give meaning to. There is no meaning unless you want something to have meaning. And I think that this ties into purpose and, your life's work and what you want to do. The cool thing about this realization is that being that there's no meaning, there's no one thing that we all are working to achieve, means that there is unlimited possibilities for each and every one of us. There is infinite things that we can do, that we can try, that we can enjoy, that we can find our own groove. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the second quote really quick because I think it's important to talk about. So that was the one that said, a meaningful life can be extremely satisfying, even in the midst of hardship. Whereas a meaningless life is a terrible ordeal, no matter how comfortable it is. The way that I interpreted this is that if you, me, anyone, everyone, spend our whole life chasing materialistic things, that no matter how much we have, we will never feel happy because we're not doing the thing that is making us happy, right? Like, happiness comes from serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, those types of things. Like, that is when we feel happy. And a lot of those involve being active, being around people, service work, all of those things is what really makes us have those feel good, right? I think that is one thing that I've always kind of known. In my mind, I've always known that, because when I was in school, I was in a great major. Honestly, I could go out of school and go work for a big bank and do the financial stuff, but I realized that I just wasn't feeling very passionate about it. I was I don't really want to sit at a desk, however long they sit at a desk, because it's definitely more than 8 hours a day. And I just, I started to feel a little bit depressed. Actually, no, a lot. I was very depressed in university, but I think for me, as I was just doing everything very just here. My life was very busy at the time with work and school and running and just all these other things. And it just felt very down. It just felt like my life had no joy and I had no meaning. I had this feeling of I feel like I don't really have a meaning and I just don't know what all this is for. If I don't feel good, then why am I doing it? And if you relate to this, first of all, I just want to say I'm sorry. You're not alone. I promise you that you are not alone. So many people are feeling this way today. And I think one of the big issues to why we're feeling this way is that we are very fortunate. We have a lot figured out for us already. Back in the day, if you read the book, you'll kind of see what I'm talking about. But back in the day, we had to hunt and find places to sleep. And, we kind of worked more in families and communities, and everything was just very different. Maybe our purpose for the day was finding vegetables and fruit. It was a much different time. And I don't think people really sat around thinking about what's my meaning in life, because they were more focused on the basic needs of their day to day. And people weren't exposed to everyone's life like we are today with social media, right? Like they kind of just had their family and their community and, you know, maybe their neighbors, who knows, just like very small, and they all worked together and did their thing. And it wasn't perfect, definitely wasn't perfect. You know, medicine and stuff was very hard. People didn't live as long. There was a lot of issues, but I think one of the issues that they didn't have too much was people kind of sitting here being like, I feel like I have no purpose, or I feel like my life has no meaning. I would predict if I was living in that time that I would not be having those thoughts, because I would just be focused on my basic needs. Honestly, like when you need to hunt, to eat, and to search, and to keep yourself safe and not get eaten, like you got a lot going on already, right? Like you don't have time to really just like sit there and be like, And today we have a lot of that figured out for us, right? Like we have grocery stores, we have places to live, we are safe. I mean, not everywhere is super safe, but if you're in America, like we have a lot figured out for us. And it is definitely a luxury, right? Like it is a luxury that we no longer have to hunt and we save all this time. But here's the thing, with all this time, we have started to question, you know, what's the purpose of life? What is my meaning in life? And I think it moves so fast. Everything moved very, very fast, and that's why I feel this way, and I think a large majority feel this way, because things just changed very rapidly, and then now all of a sudden we have so many things taken care of for us that we have this extra time to think. Okay, so now we are going to talk about how to find the meaning for you, how to find the meaning and the purpose for you. And if you are one of the lucky ones that figure it out when you're super young and you just work your whole life doing that, you are very, very lucky. It's like amazing, right? Like if you find what you love super young and you just do that your whole life and you just feel so excited to do it, like that is such a lucky category to be in, and this video probably won't be for you. But if you're in the other category of you're kind of trying to find what it is and you want to change but you don't know what to do or like where you'd even want to go or what you'd want to be a part of, this is where I'm here to help you. Okay, so first of all, I'm gonna say it, and I know it is going to be annoying and I probably sound like a grandma, but it is very good to not always be grabbing onto some type of content, because you need time to be bored or just to be alone with your thoughts to really start to think about these things. I know it can be stressful when you all of a sudden start thinking about this, and then you're like, oh, I can just grab my phone and just scroll through something, you know, anything, email, Instagram, whatever it is for you. But the time alone with your thoughts is going to be very, very helpful. And I think that another one of the issues is that we are constantly bombarded with information and we are just seeing everyone's lives so fast. And then maybe we even start to feel behind, but that's like not, no. If you feel that way, I understand why. It makes complete sense, but you are not behind. You are not behind. You are never too old. You are never too young. And I think when you kind of pull away from the constant media and the constant comparison, it will help you start to calm down your mind, and that will be a good thing. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, because I think a lot of times you can get stuck into this spiral of just like consuming, and we're gonna talk about this very soon, but we're meant to create, and I think today we are just consuming too much. So if you feel very anxious and you consume a lot, start creating. Create anything. It does not have to be for an audience. It does not have to be for anyone. It can just be for you. But we as humans are meant to create, and today we are more consuming. For the second thing, because we're all gonna have a different purpose and a different meaning in life. A lot of times I think that when we are younger, there are things that we enjoy doing. There are things that we might have done better than other people, and even the thing that people make fun of you for, that is it. You know, like if someone's making fun of you for something, it probably is because you're really good at it and there's an element of jealousy, and that might be what you're meant to do. A good thing to do is to ask people who knew you when you were younger, what were you like? What did you like to do? What did you find interesting? What could you do for hours on end and never get bored? Just kind of see what you were really passionate about when we were younger, because I think when we are kids, we're just naturally drawn towards some things. And then as we grow up and become adults, we just kind of get shoved into this system and we forget all of those things. So I would say definitely ask people, if you can, who knew you when you were younger, what you were really into and see if those are things that you'd be into today. Third thing is start reading. Okay, I'm gonna say it. I am going to say it. It is so important to read, and you can read anything. Read anything that you find interesting, and even if you start reading and you're like, I'm not really into this, that's fine. Move on to the next thing. Reading, I think, really helps us discover what we're pulled towards, right? Because when you're reading, you can't be doing anything else. Like, it's very hard to read and be doing something else. I don't know if I can do anything else when I'm reading, so if you can, that is a talent. Congratulations. But it gives you time to like really be immersed in something, and I find for myself when I'm reading, something will stand out and I'll be like, and then I have an idea and I'm like, okay, and then I jot it down so I remember that. But reading is so helpful, and also it trains us to have a longer attention span, which is amazing. In today's world, if you have an attention span, now on to the most important part, okay? So once you start doing all these things, I want you to create a place where you have a collection of all of the things, whether it's a scene from a movie, a character in a show, a book that you read, a quote from a book, a picture, something you did, and put it all into one place. Or, I mean, honestly, you can have it in a few places, because I have a few places. Like, I have a journal, I have a drawing book, and I have Pinterest. Okay, you know what? Actually, you can have multiple places. I do think maybe I have too many places and I should fix that, but hey, it's whatever works for you. What I would do is to start collecting these things somewhere that you're gonna look at frequently, and continue to add things there, because I think that over time there will be a pattern. There will be things that come up multiple times, and when you start to see those things, you might question and be like, oh, maybe that's something I want to try, or like maybe that's something I want to look more into, because it seems like it has made me feel a good way multiple times, so I should look more into it. Just find a place and just collect, you know, all the things that make you feel alive, that make you feel joy, that make you feel interested or curious, and just collect them, okay? Because then after a little bit, you're gonna go through it, and I do think for most people, you're gonna find something there. And for me personally, what I do is I have a few places that I write things down. Honestly, I'm gonna cut out the journal, because the journal, I mean, that's just all my ideas, so that's more of an idea thing. But for me, I have a sketchbook, and I will like draw things, and I'm not a good drawer, but I draw things, and sometimes I draw multiple things, and then I just kind of see where they like connect, and they're all things that made me feel something, right? So I drew a scene from a show, and I remember when I watched this episode, I was very inspired, and I was like, whoa, this is amazing. The drawing, not great, but it meant something to me, so I put it down somewhere. Another thing I do is I have a Notion page, and I just have a blank page that has a ton of images in it of anything that made me feel very excited, inspired, alive, whatever it was. And I just continue to add images to that page, because I think that helps me remember. It helps me remember, hey, you did this, or you saw this, or you read this, and you felt this way. Another thing I'm gonna add is that I think that no matter what you decide to do, service in some type of way will make you feel happy. Service is one of the best things, because you're doing something for someone else, and something about doing that, I don't know what it is. There was like an episode of Friends, right? And Joey told Phoebe that there is no selfless good deed. And Phoebe spent the whole episode trying to prove to Joey that that's not true, and she couldn't. Because every time that we do something for someone else or help someone, we just automatically feel good. That's just how we are. I think the coolest thing that could happen is that you find something you love to do, and you get really excited about it, and then whatever that thing is, you share it, or you apply it to whatever you're interested in. And it can be anything, honestly. Like, for example, it can be making a food product. There are so many brands that have come out that are healthy versions of stuff, and that is allowing so many people to eat healthy, and they love the taste of it. Like, it can be literally anything, but anytime you help someone, right, like, it feels good. Even just like talking to a friend and giving them advice, or listening to them talk so they can get their emotions out, it feels good. I mean, it feels good for me. I think it feels good for most people. I don't know, like, I don't know everyone, but research-based, people who work in service tend to have the happiest jobs. I think that is a very cool thing. Another example is like even creating movies and shows. Creating something for someone. For me personally, like, I don't mindlessly watch things. I really pick out the things that I watch, because everything we consume affects us. Whatever we read, whatever music we listen to, whatever show shows we watch, those are now in our head. So I'm very like conscious of that. And there are shows or movies that I watch sometimes and it's like I feel understood. Sometimes I get in my head and I feel like I'm the only one that feels this way, the only one that's like been through something, which I know sounds crazy, but it's probably because I spend a lot of time alone and I just kind of get like a little bit weird. And then I watch something and I'm like, okay, yeah, I feel for this person. Like I feel understood. Even that, like that is an act of service, right? Like you're making somebody not feel alone, even though you're not seeing them directly. Writers of TV shows and movies and stuff, like they don't see the people who watch their content, but they're still making someone feel a certain way. So I do really think that service honestly can be in most everything. Mostly, not everything, but like mostly. Yeah, for me, that's the conclusion I came to. Like, first of all, you just have to find the thing that you're excited about because we only got one of these things. We only got one, right? Like this is the only time that we have here, and when it's gone, it's gone. I think it would not be worth it to just do what everyone else wants you to do because honestly, when you find the thing that you love, you will be good at it because you love to do it. When people love their work, they are good at it. And like it said in the book, if your life is full of meaning, even like on the hardest days, you are still happy to be alive. That is just my advice. And I just wanted to make this because I was reading this book and I was like, oh yes, I need to share this with people because I think for a long time I have been, you know, doing this work, trying to search for meaning and purpose and all these things. And then it just clicked one day. And I was like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Then I just want to share with you guys the things that I do to, you know, just find the path for me because we're all gonna have different paths. And I'm here to tell you, if you're on a path right now and you're absolutely miserable, just know it is never too late to start over. It is never too late to start over. Back to the idea that we only got one of these, it doesn't have to be a bad life. It does not have to be a bad life. So if you really are unhappy, I would say just start and look into ways that you can change the circumstances that you're in. Okay, that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed and thank you so much for watching. I hope that this all came out okay. Honestly, I feel like it's such a big topic and I'm just trying to like condense it into one video. But if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments and I will answer them. Or if you want me to go into more detail about anything, please let me know. That will be it. Have a beautiful rest of your day and I will see you all very, very soon. Bye.